For decades, chemical weapons have been treated as relics of history, terrible tools confined to wars, treaties, and doctrines most people will never have to think about. We imagine them locked in classified archives, behind bunker doors, and international red tape. Yet in 2017, one of the most lethal chemical agents ever engineered was used not on a battlefield, but inside the fluorescent-lit corridors of a civilian airport. The target was a man who lived between worlds of privilege and exile, loyalty and threat, and identity and invisibility. Welcome to Life Stories of the Unknown, where in every episode we remember someone from the past who led a remarkable life that today have become forgotten. In this episode, we are discussing Kim Jong-nam, the man who almost ruled North Korea. Kim Jong-nam was born in 1971 into a family that ruled a nation but lived behind walls. His father, Kim Jong-il, was already a rising political force in North Korea. His mother, Song Hye-rim, was a beloved film star, one of the most famous faces in the country during the 1960s and 70s. Their relationship, however, was forbidden. Kim Jong-il was already married, and Song Hye-rim's status as a public figure made the scandal politically unacceptable. Their son was kept secret. His childhood was not spent inside the official Kim compounds, but in guarded residences away from public knowledge. For years, even many within North Korea's elite did not know of his existence. Song Hye-rim paid the highest cost for that secrecy. As Kim Jong-nam grew, she disappeared from public life entirely. The once celebrated actress endured increasing isolation, deteriorating health, and deep depression. She lived her later years cut off from the world that once adored her. Eventually, she died far from the spotlight, a woman written out of the very nation she had helped define. Kim Jong-nam's early life, though hidden, was not devoid of privilege. He received an elite education abroad, studying in Switzerland and Russia. He spoke multiple languages fluently: Korean, English, French, and Russian. Unlike the carefully sculpted persona of most North Korean elites, those who met him described him as soft-spoken, curious, observant, cosmopolitan, and disinterested in theatrical power. In many ways, he was the most worldly of the Kim dynasty. For a period, he was even seen as the future of it. In the 1990s, Kim Jong-nam was quietly elevated within political circles. Many believed he was being prepared as heir apparent. Unlike his father, and later his half-brother, he did not embrace absolute ideological rigidity. He admired China's economic reform, openly suggesting that North Korea should adopt a similar path. He recognized the country's stagnation and was unafraid of saying so. Over time, this reformist curiosity, so natural to him, became politically dangerous. The more he saw of the world, the less he fit into the system he was born to inherit. And then came the moment that changed everything. In 2001, he attempted to enter Japan using a forged Dominican Republic passport, intending, according to his statement, to visit Tokyo Disneyland with his young son. The plan collapsed at immigration. He was detained, publicly exposed, and deported. To the outside world, it was absurd. Newspapers mocked him as the Disneyland Prince. To North Korea, it was humiliation. To Kim Jong-il, it was betrayal of discretion. The consequences were swift. Kim Jong-nam lost his status, protection, funding, and political future. He vanished from succession conversations overnight. A man once positioned to rule a nation was now exiled from it over a theme park visit. He spent the rest of his life in Macau, drifting quietly between comfort and obscurity. Chinese protection kept him safe, but distance kept him powerless. He gave occasional interviews, measured, diplomatic, and reserved, but clear in his belief that dynastic leadership was unsustainable. He said he did not want power, and he avoided political movements. But his existence alone represented an alternate branch of the dynasty. And in a system where optics are weapons, an alternative is a threat, especially to someone who did rise to power, his younger half-brother, Kim Jong-un. Their relationship was never openly hostile, but it was never warm. One was visible, ruthless, and feared. The other was exiled, unthreatening, yet symbolically inconvenient. Kim Jong-nam became a man who mattered too much by simply existing. February 13, 2017, Kuala Lumpur International Airport. At 9 a.m., Kim Jong-nam, traveling under the alias Kim Chol, approached a self-check-in kiosk. He looked like a middle-aged businessman waiting for a routine flight to Macau. CCTV later showed two women approaching him from opposite sides. The first smeared a clear substance across his face. Seconds later, the second pressed her hands across his eyes. Both walked away quickly, unbothered, unsuspicious, disappearing into the terminal crowd. No shouting, no struggle, no panic. To anyone watching, it looked like a mischief act. Kim walked toward an information desk, briefly rubbing his eyes. "Very painful. My eyes burn," he told staff. Within minutes, the symptoms escalated: sweating, disorientation, loss of balance. He never screamed. He never identified an attacker. He did not have time to understand what had happened. He was unconscious within 10 minutes. Dead before reaching the hospital. The arrest of the two women shocked investigators, not because they were hard to find, but because they made no attempt to hide. They both believed they had been filming a prank. In the weeks leading up to the attack, they had been separately recruited to film hidden camera pranks involving smearing lotion and baby oil on strangers. Investigators later verified this through CCTV footage showing them conducting identical pranks in malls, hotels, and streets. However, on the day of the attack, the supposedly harmless liquids to be used in the prank were replaced with something evil. It was later determined by the forensic investigation that VX nerve agent was used in the attack, one of the most lethal chemical weapons ever created. AC compound banned by international convention. Deadly in microscopic doses. Odorless, invisible, and fast. An even darker twist was that a binary form of VX nerve agent was given to the two women. These substances were harmless in isolation. Only when combined on the skin did they become lethal. This was not poison delivery. It was chemical assembly at point of contact. The women had not been handed poison. They had been handed halves of a weapon. This was chemical warfare reduced to a handshake. While the women were arrested, 4 North Korean operatives who coordinated the act quietly left Malaysia the same day. Flights booked, passports cleared, departures completed long before investigators connected the dots. North Korea denied everything: the victim's identity, the assassination, the chemical findings, even the premise of the investigation. Malaysia and North Korea severed diplomatic relations in 2021. What makes this story extraordinary is not just the death itself, it is the shape it took. A man born to secrecy, raised in privilege, but kept invisible. Groomed for succession, then exiled by a mistake rooted in curiosity. Protected by one country, disowned by another. A figure in the dynasty, yet outside of power. Influential only by implication. And finally, a target not eliminated by soldiers, drones, or arsenals, but by unsuspecting strangers performing what looked like street theater. A life lived in contradiction ended in ambiguity. The world spent decades preparing for chemical attacks that look like war: missiles, gases, alarms, protective masks, mass casualties. No one prepared for an attack that looks like nothing. This is not simply a story about one man. It is a story about modern vulnerability, where danger does not look dangerous, where weapons do not look like weapons, where the attack ends before witnesses realize it began, and where history shifts not with noise, but with a touch.